Have you ever wanted to meet the Level 2 gamers? You might have a chance. Up in Indiana sometime here soon, around the 7th of the 7th, we're going to be down in Indiana, Indie PopCon Festival, and we're actually going to be hosting an entire panel at that conference on the 7th. Now, the whole festival stretches out 7 through 9, but we're going to be there all 3 days. But day 1, that's when we get to do our panel. It's the struggles of a small YouTuber and how to overcome them. Hopefully, we'll let you know when we figure it out all the way. But for now, we can give you a few bits of advice in the meantime. So we hope to see you there.
Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level gaming. Second level.
What's up, world, and welcome back to episode 2 of Codename Morpheus, which is our weekly PSVR podcast slash vidcast that we do for both YouTube and podcast formats. My name is Tom. I will be hosting today alongside my co-host slash sort of life partner. Not in that way.
We're about to spend 4 nights together.
We are.
3 nights.
Keegan.
4 days. 4 days, 3 nights, I think. I don't know how that works.
I don't know. It's all a blur.
6th through the 10th, we're going to be spending time together.
We're going to be Indie PopCon, and we're going to be sharing a hotel. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, welcome back. And this is episode 2. Episode 1 did pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to say, before we jump to the news, I just want to say thank you to you guys. Couple things. One, just thank you for watching. It was the first episode of the series. We kind of redid, if you watched the Level 2 VR stuff before, you saw the changes, but we kind of rejiggered some things. And 2, thank you so much for the comments and the feedback. Tom thinks you're crazy for wanting shorter things, but I don't think you're absolutely crazy.
So could I stop here for a second?
I mean, you can defend yourself, yes.
I'm going to defend my position, because a lot of people that watch this show say it's too long. And I get that, all right?
It was an hour and a half, I think, last
episode.
Long.
Yeah, that one was really long, because they had a sale that was like 1 million games. The reason why I like long format is because I'm always logged in when I watch a video. So I watch a lot of, nowadays anyway, since you've learned with our last podcast, I watch a lot of esports, right? And you can have like an hour or 2 hour long session. So what I will do is I will watch as much as I can on like a break or lunch or whatever, and then I will just stop it. And then I will go about my day. And then when I come back, I just press play again and keep watching it. So in my, like, I don't know if it's like an old person thing, whereas in my head, I'm just I can just
TV
stop
show?
this and watch it later. But like everyone keeps saying, it needs to be smaller bites. It needs to be this, that, and this. And I'm just like, I don't get it. Like,
so,
but it's just a me thing.
I was explaining to you, there's two, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's 2 reasons to it when it comes to shorter. Is 1, you can watch 1 episode on a break and be done with that content. So like if you're stopping something, you could be stopping it mid-thought.
Right.
And that sucks. Versus if you're like a 15-minute video, you could watch it for 15 minutes, be done. The other thing with it is an hour and a half is intimidating. Like how often
we get scared of time.
If you don't have time, like it's one of those things where like,
so it is an investment. Think
about this. You watch a half an hour show.
Yeah.
You will easily watch 3 half-an-hour shows and not realize an hour and a half has gone by. You watch a movie for an hour and a half, you know you're sitting down for an hour and a half, and if something interrupts you, you can't leave. Gotcha. Or you got to leave and you leave the
So we should make it episodic and have like a cliffhanger every half an hour.
So one of the things we've talked about doing, are we doing this episode? I don't know if we decided
not this one.
Yeah, we're going to do it starting after this one.
Let's put it to a vote.
So one of the things we've talked about based on your feedback was taking each section, so like the news, the deals, the question, Spotlight. Is that everything? I think that's everything. And making it its own video inside of a playlist. And then you could just watch that playlist if you want to watch the whole thing, each video individually. Audio staying the same. Audio is going to be one giant podcast because it makes the most sense. We're not dividing that up. So for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, do you like that idea? Do you not like that idea? When you say you want shorter videos, we have supplemental content. So you released, as of recording today, as you're watching this 2 days ago, how to make a couple foreign VR accounts or PlayStation Networks accounts to get VR demos. So those are coming as well. So when I responded to a couple of you saying, hey, we're working on stuff, that's what part of that was. But for this specifically, how would you guys like to see the format? But
we are completely open to feedback. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to bitch and moan about people saying that we need shorter podcasts. A little bit. But I just like, me and Keegan are like opposites on a lot of things, which is why we work so well together.
Which is why you guys like to yell at each other.
But the question, I guess, is that we want to do whatever makes the most people happy as far as how the content is. So would you rather stick to the hour to an hour and a half / full video that you can watch in chunks at your own time, or would you rather that we break it up per piece and make
into
a playlist that you can watch later? But I don't want to delve too much onto the YouTube stuff, so we'll dig in because we've already been 5 minutes deep into this episode. So here's the thing. We can talk a little bit extra because really there's not been a whole lot going on. I have included one new game because this game came out after we recorded last week, but was not really released today on Tuesday that we're recording. It was released last Friday, and that was Spiderman Homecoming Experience, which is free. Which it was nice that it's free.
Ties into the movie,
which
was released last week as well.
Something like that. But I have not played it, and you have, you have strong opinions.
Yeah,
as you usually do.
So, did you? I think you sent this to me when it came out.
I sent you the link to it.
Yeah, I think you showed this to me. I was like, ooh. I was like, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go home and play it. David played it as well. And one of the things that it was free, so I had low expectations. Let's start with that. So I knew it was a tie into the movie. This is not the Insomniac Spider-Man. This is just a separate thing in its own.
It's an advertisement for the movie.
Yes,
basically.
So what it is, spoiler if you don't want to spoil this thing. I don't know what to call it. It's not a game. Yeah, it's an experience. What it is you get into Spider-Man, you put on the mask, you look yourself in the mirror.
You get into Spider-Man?
Yeah, you get into Spider-Man.
Heyo.
You look yourself in the mirror like you do in Batman. Like, oh, I'm Spider-Man, cool. And then it's a gallery shooter for, training. You're learning how to use your webs. So you do the webs, you get through the tutorial, and the tutorial is kind of fun. The aiming, little cattywampus, as I like to say. Yeah, it's moves. Okay. You can do, I don't know if it requires moves, but you want to play with moves. Aiming is cattywampus because I felt like when I was pointing, where I was pointing my hand was not the same place the cursor was. That actually was where the thing was going to go.
Gotcha.
What was really cool is they had multiple different types of webbing. So, you start off and you just do your normal web of, grab the poster and pull it towards you. I was like, this is cool. I could see this being used. Second one is, a bomb, where you shoot a bomb into a thing and it explodes after a second. The third one is, I guess it's a brute force type thing, where you just punch it and it knocks it off. It's just a gunshot essentially. And those I think are the three that you have. There might be I don't think there's a fourth. I think there's only three, and then you can switch between them by pushing the button on the move controllers.
It seems like a lot of effort to put into an experience. Do you think they're actually planning on making a full game out of it?
I don't think so. I wish they did. So what happens after that? So you get through the tutorial, which is half the game, if not 3/4 of the game, which kind of sucked. That's the biggest disappointment. They get you through that. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, there's this, you see in the distance over there, there's smoke happening. Something's going on. My spidey sensors are tingling. And they tell you, hey, go up on that crane. So you put your arm up, you shoot up to the crane, and there's a little weird blackout thing where you're just like, whoop, I'm teleporting. So it's a half a swing. But I think they did that for motion sickness, where I was I wanted to
you want to have that Windlands swinging on a rope feeling.
So that didn't happen. So then you're up on this crane, looking around, things are happening, and then all of a sudden, the crane next to you gets hit by something. Again, don't want to spoil too much about who's in it, but the crane gets hit by something. It falls down, it bends like this. You're on this part of the back of the crane, the front end of the crane pulls down. You got to shoot your webs to pull it up. Problem with that. Problem number one I had was game didn't tell me which web to use. I assumed I just needed to use the grabby one and pull it up, but to me I was supposed to shoot and pull, and it's just you're supposed to shoot. And it just did its thing. You don't pull. Because to me, that made sense to pull it, because I'm pulling it back up.
Yeah. That's the natural motion of saving yourself from crane death.
Yeah. So there's that. Then the next thing, again, I'm not going to say who it is, but there's a villain that comes out, and you see him in the distance that caused the explosion, come towards you and fly towards you. And I was like, oh, I'm going to have to fight somebody. This is going to be fun. Cool. I start shooting my web, doesn't do anything. Shoot my web, doesn't do anything. Dude flies by me, goes off, credits roll.
Oh.
So
pretty short and sweet.
Short as in, if there's no tutorial, you are spending maybe 2 minutes in VR. It's really cool.
Is it total,
when you first,
5?
Probably 5 to maybe 7, 10 tops. It's really cool. When you first go up on the crane, you're looking around this is cool. And then at the very end, when the guy goes away, there's a couple other things that happen, but it's all the same thing. When the guy goes away, you shoot to grab on a helicopter that's following him. And I was like, oh, we're going to start swinging. here we go. And you do that weird swing motion that they do where it goes black and you know you're swinging, but you're not swinging. And then that's where the credits.
So not quite what we wanted.
No.
We wanted maybe a little bit of swinging through New York and kind of...
I mean, again, I didn't expect a full thing. Like I saw the trailer for it where you're shooting stuff. I was like, that's cool. Again, that was tutorial. But I expected them to do something with that. Like, even if it was like a level of Until Dawn style where it's like, shoot these things, swing up to this snap floor, shoot the... Like, I would have been cool with that.
Yeah.
The being Spider-Man thing was cool. Obviously, putting the mask on, grabbing the mask and going, boonk, like you do in Batman.
To be fair, though, is free.
Yeah,
so,
but it's not worth... My opinion's not worth playing.
It's not worth free.
I've already deleted it off my PS4 because it's... If you're a Spider-Man fan... Play it, but you will be disappointed.
Okay,
that's all I'm gonna say.
That's a fair comment.
So you're fair.
I've
fair
not done it
play.
yet. I will play it just to kind of experience it, but sad to hear that there's no actual swinging involved.
Especially considering how good the movie is. Yeah. The movie's gotten like great review. I can't wait to go see that. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. Like Spider-Man is a superhero that I'm like, I don't care about Batman. I don't care about not Gargoyles. Who's the other one? X-Men. Gargoyles was Disney. Well, I was trying to think of the cartoons I used to watch as a kid. I was like, Gargoyle. Nope, never mind.
Gummy Bears.
Yeah, I love the gummy bears. Gummy bears. But no, Spider-Man is like my superhero whenever there's anything Spider-Man, I love it.
Maybe there's still something coming, something more interesting. Maybe Insomniac will do something. That'd be cool.
I would love that. I don't think they are because they're focusing too much on that
Probably
game.
not.
But I really want Spider-Man in VR. But this was not it. So...
Oh, well, there you go. How did you feel about it? Did you get a chance to play it? It is free after all. Let us know. Did you have a different experience to Keegan? Did you really enjoy it? Did you want more? Did you wish it was different? Let us know. But then, aside from that, we usually move on to deals at this point. And the deals, as far as I understand it right now, are the same as last week.
So, because the mid-year sale is still going on.
Yeah, the mid-year sale, the huge sale is still going on. And all those games, all those 18 games. I will say this, actually. I have a disclaimer for last week. We missed 2. The 2 that we missed didn't go up until after we recorded because we usually record around like 11 o'clock-ish, and they were still updating the mid-year sale at that time. So we had everything we possibly could by the time we started recording, but we missed Bound and Time Machine VR.
I saw Time Machine this morning. I was like, ooh, yeah, that game's fun. That's one you should pick up. Do you know what the price is on it now?
I don't.
It's full price 30. I want to say it was like 12.
It's probably down some, and Bound I think is on the really cheap side, like $8 or something.
Time Machine is one I will say pick it up on sale.
You know, there's a lot of hate for that game, especially in r/PSVR. I don't know. A lot of people say it's shit, but I really enjoyed it, and you really enjoyed it.
I did too. I enjoyed it not from a games perspective, from a science perspective. Yeah. So I think that might be it. I went in. It's more an experience than a game, but there's game mechanics to it. But if you like, there's a bug.
It's a mosquito.
If you like,
good luck with that light, buddy. Come here. I will get you.
If you like sciencey stuff, Time Machine VR is a good one.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was great.
It's a bit rough voice acting, but
I was going to put a disclaimer in like after in the comments or something, but I thought, I'll just wait till this week since the same sale's going on. So yeah, all those 18 games plus the 2 more, so that makes 20 total VR games that are on sale right now. I did pick up a couple. I picked up Tumble because it was $4.
I love that game.
And I picked.
Got it.
Oh man, Mr. Miyagi.
Oh.
There you go. No more worries. Sorry, we don't condone the killing. I mean, fuck a mosquito, actually.
They're in your house, you're fine. They bit you earlier.
Yeah, it did. I had blood coming down my arm for no reason.
Anyways, back to this PlayStation VR podcast.
Yeah, but I would say I picked up that, and I also picked up The Assembly as well, because I've really wanted to play The Assembly since it came out, and I am a big fan of that sort of sci-fi thing. I know it's not perfect as a game, but I've heard enough decent words about it that I thought it would be exciting to play, so I picked up those 2 games.
Yeah.
But I did not pick up Arizona Sunshine. Right. I debated it because they've come out and done this patch and done a patch. The pendulum they didn't fix the shaky. Mm-hmm. They did fix some stuff, but they didn't fix the shaky. They said that's on the next one, but because this was a patch that you already had intended. Yeah. But the pendulum is swinging back in favor of Arizona Sunshine. There's a lot of people now that are kind of saying, okay, you know what, we shit on it a little bit, but our expectations were maybe a little high for it. Mm-hmm. It's not a terrible game. There is a lot to enjoy here. It definitely has its problems, but there's
neither of us have played it.
We still haven't played it yet, so we can't pick it up. At some point.
We're just based on what we've been reading, communities and forums, all that kind of
stuff.
We're
a conglomerate of opinions from other people, but that's where we're at right now.
But it's good. So let's. I'm gonna hold on this for a little bit here. You give it a mosquito. So we talked about last week when it came out that people were like, is this a it was a broken game. Is this a non-patched game? What is happening here? And we said, if it's technical issues, the developers can fix it. And that seems to be what it is. And the fact that, we said last week that they're working, or I don't know if we said on the show, if we found out afterwards that they were working on a patch, and you're like, oh, it'll probably be up at the end of the week. I was like, no, it'll wait till next week because Sony being Sony and holiday. I don't know if they work on a holiday here or not. But the patch is out, patch number 1. So more power to them. And the quicker they do damage control, the better. Like, we used the example, I think, last week of Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th was broken at launch. But people still played that game and loved that game because they were able to say, "Hey,
it was not broken enough."
It was broken.
The servers were a little fuckery, but if you stuck around for 10 minutes, you'd get into a game. So I'd say it was irritating, but I wouldn't say it was broken. The game was still fully playable. It just had
sometimes. Well, I had to wait. I waited for 20 minutes and could get on a game. So to me, that's broken because I can't play a game. That's broken. Because I couldn't get into a server.
I have more time on my side.
Yeah, I didn't. I literally waited for 20 minutes in the queue and I couldn't get in. But no, basically the point I'm making is the game came out broken. Developers said, look, we know it's screwed up. We fixed it. It's a technical issue. We're working on the shakiness. More power to them. Like, good on you. That's how you've got to do it. And I think it's early enough that the pendulum, like you said, could swing back and be in their favor. I think they're still going to miss out on that initial rush of people like, oh my God, like the word of mouth. But then the word of mouth of them fixing it and saying, actually, no, this is a good game. People like us saying, hey, they patched it, we're ready to go, is good.
I haven't written it off, which is good. I think they did enough damage control early enough that I have not written the game off. I will pick it up eventually. Same
thing with Surgeon Simulator. They had to do damage control, like we said last week. And
also on sale, by the way.
They missed, again, I think they missed a window of people. But people still picked it up because like, oh, it's fixed versus being like, it's completely broken.
Yeah. So. Danganronpa got my money this week, but maybe next payday, Arizona Sunshine might see some of that, but we'll see how it goes.
Arizona.
So let's get into the bulk of things, which is the news, and we have a few interesting ones this week. My personal favorite is the first one, which is why I chose it, and that is that, and I can never pronounce this company's name, so I always go Koei Tecmo, but I'm pretty sure it's like not pronounced that way. So this summer, Koei Tecmo is offering a new VR experience as part of an amusement facility called VR Sense that aims to bring current and new titles with a VR twist. Famitsu reports that Dead or Alive Extreme is being added as one of the titles for VR Sense to go with the recently announced Super Sengoku coaster that will also be at the event. And here's where it gets interesting. As for Dead or Alive Extreme Sense, the players can hang out with the heroines of the game. If you ever played Dead or Alive, it's basically like
boob simulator.
Boob simulator.
I played Extreme Beach Volleyball. It's the only one I ever played in the series.
You can actually smell them through a scent function that is being added to the VR machine. There's also a misting function that will allow players to get a feel of the water that gets splashed in the VR experience.
That's like, what was South Park? They had the Noculus Rift.
The Noculus Rift, yeah. So basically they are adding the ability to smell the girls in Dead or Alive Extreme VR, which is a little bit creepy, I think. How do you feel about that?
They've got a giant tube here that you got to sit in. So this is not for home use. This is out and about.
There's a little bit more to the tale. PlayStation VR is going to get Koei Tecmo's 5 VR Sense titles, is our next bit of news following on from that perfectly. Now, obviously, PlayStation VR does not have an automatic, 5 sense stimulation booth that comes with it. I don't think they're going to do anything with the sense stuff. I think they're just releasing the games as being playable, because aside from the extra sense stuff, they are actually just games.
Dead or Alive.
Games. There's a couple that were revealed. Dead or Alive is obviously one. Ultra Dynasty Warriors, GI Jockey Sense, Horror Sense, Ultra Samurai Coaster, alongside.
Can we talk about GI Jockey Sense? Is that a horse race game? Because that's what it's either that or you're smelling a jockstrap.
It is,
and I'm hoping it's a horse game.
A horse racing game. Okay. So Ultra Dynasty Warriors features a new experience on the battlefield. The heat from flames on the battlefield are reproduced and creates an overwhelming immersive feeling of excitement for players, is what they're saying. This is in the actual Sense booth, not the PSVR one, but this game will be coming to PSVR. GI Jockey Sense includes the voice of well-known announcer Yoshihiko Yano. Wind, rain, snow, and more are simulated in the Sense booth, and race rival horses using the controller and 3D seats. So I'm assuming that it's a horse racing game. Horrorsense, or Daruma Sangai Karongda. The multi-purpose 3D seat moves in accordance with the video. Bugs falling from the ceiling and small animals running at your feet are reproduced. An engaging story that you'll want to
this reminds
finish.
me of, have you ever gone to SeaWorld?
No, actually.
So in SeaWorld, I don't know if it's still there. This is years ago now, but they used to have...
Didn't they shut it down?
No, they had to change some things. They're not shut down, but they had to change some things because the black fin or fish, blackfish, I think.
Blackfish.
Which you should go watch the documentary if you haven't yet. It's a real good one. But anyways, SeaWorld, they have it used to be called R.L. Stein's 4D something or other. I think it's R.L. Stein 4D. And what it was is you would sit in this movie theater. I believe you had 3D glasses. You had a giant screen, and then you're in your seat. They had like things that would happen,
right?
Which sounds real weird, but they have things that would happen.
I'm familiar with the idea of 4D.
You'd be sitting there, and say like a mouse comes by, you get a puff of air that goes from your right butt cheek to your left butt cheek, and you go whoop, and it's gone. Or you get splashed with water, it splashes you in the face. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Like that's essentially what this is it's that 4 dimensions that.
But the VR element probably adds
more to it,
quite a lot more.
Yeah. But it's interesting because I don't think this will ever be at home in the future at all, just because how would you handle it? And
it would be like 50 years.
The other thing is electronics and mist, aka liquid and or water, do not mix. So you have to be.
Someone's going to try and make a sex machine thing. You know it. At some point, there's
but
Sony want to
prove it.
VR on, and there'll be like a doll.
Sony want to prove it.
No,
it'll be Oculus.
I'm just saying there'll be something weird like that. It's going to come from Japan too.
But this is it is interesting, and it's that next level. Like, what do you do after VR? The only complaint I kind of have with this is like, I don't think VR's ready for this when it comes to like getting you completely lost in it.
Yeah. It's a nice addition. Anything that adds to the immersion is a good idea in my opinion. I don't understand the obsession with smelling women. You know? Like what are they even hey, I'm not a woman. What are they
not
even
yet a woman.
I mean they're playing volleyball, right? Or no, they're fighting. They're fighting. So
I don't know. The only one I played is Extreme Beach Volleyball, which they have a lot of jiggly boobs.
I assume
my mom I'm gonna let you finish.
I assume why does every story end up with your mother? I assume
because I lived with her?
That they smell of sweat, which doesn't particularly appeal to me.
Or of pheromones.
Yeah, that's gross though. Although didn't we have like, wasn't there a game we talked about a week or two ago where it smells like panties or something?
Yes.
VR's getting weird, man. It's getting really
Japan.
Weird.
Japan's always been weird.
Always been weird.
Yeah,
but VR is getting weird.
So Dead or Alive story before we move on is I rented Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball 2, I believe. Was there 2 of them? Maybe it's the first one. I don't know. Because I was like, oh, volleyball game, cool, half naked chicks. And at the time I was probably, I was middle school. I had to be middle school. Maybe I lived in I was in California.
Spider monkey phase.
I was in California. So hormones were kicking in. I was like, cool. And my mom had no idea. Like I sold it to her as a volleyball game because that's what it was. I did not lie.
For the most part, women play volleyball in bikinis.
Yeah. Beach volleyball is a really good Olympic sport.
Not
yeah. And in the gym they wear the Spanx as they call them. So I got Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball, which is a very good game. That's what surprised me about it is how much fun I actually had playing the game. But my mom, I was playing in where my Xbox was our living room. We had a loft, so our living room was down here, up here, and then my parents had to walk by the loft to get to the master bedroom. So I'm playing this game upstairs, not thinking I'm playing volleyball, have fun. My mom walks by, she goes, "What are you doing?" I was like, "What do you mean? I'm playing the game I rented." She's like, "But they're half naked." I was like,
"It's volleyball."
Yeah, so she's like,
"It's a beach."
I didn't know you She wasn't. It wasn't more of. She's like, you can't play that. It's more of, why didn't you tell me this is what this game was? Because she didn't see when I picked it up. I just bought it or picked it up. But Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball I played on I think it was 360. Maybe his original Xbox was really good. So if you like Dead or Alive, if you like women in skimpy bikinis
and smelling them,
only in VR.
Only in VR.
Yeah, you can't smell them in the Extreme Beach Volleyball, but it's actually a really good game.
They're going to do a normal Dead or Alive game in VR.
They need to do another VR game or another volleyball game.
Yeah, maybe.
That would be...
Just playing VR in volleyball would be quite fun. With the move controllers, just batting it up and stuff.
The problem you have with that is motion again. You got to run around a court.
I'm fine with that.
No, you got to I'm saying it's a quick motion to get where you need. Like, how do you judge distance?
Well, it'd have to be a little bit like hollow ball, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like where you they kind of only allow the ball to go in certain areas, so you don't have to stretch too far.
To me, that's no fun because I want to dive. Kinect back in the day.
Just picture you with a fucking PSVR headset.
So Kinect back in the day, I had a Kinect, and I was one of the few people who actually thought the Kinect technology was really cool.
Yeah.
They have Kinect Sports, and one of the ones is volleyball. And you go to serve, you throw it with your left hand or right hand, depending on which hand you are. You throw it up and you swing. Well, they don't tell you to look up before you jump. I would jump and swing. I may have knocked our ceiling fan off of the ceiling because I just went, bam. And my mom was so pissed at me about that. She goes, step to the right. I was like, sorry, didn't mean to. Because after that, I no longer played in the living room.
All right, and that's enough about Keegan's youth. So moving on, the next generation Steam VR controller got
this was really cool
recently, and it's pretty impressive.
This was really cool.
And it includes singular finger gestures, which sounds ruder than it is.
Yeah. So the way it works essentially is you're going to see it behind us, but it's like, what was it? Not Vive. Is Vive doing the ones that float? I think somebody's doing one where it float where you don't actually have to grab it. Like you can hold it, or if you do this, it just stays there.
It might
this is
be
doing
Vive,
the same thing.
Yeah.
But what was really cool with this one is the guy. I don't know how they did it for like certain things, but you could do different finger gestures. To me, like peace sign makes sense, or like pointing would make sense because like
that's not the peace sign.
Yeah, peace sign.
That's the peace sign.
Oh, whatever.
That means
that's
fuck
two.
off.
That's two.
In England, that means fuck
whatever. I don't care.
Flick
I bite my
these.
thumb at you.
This is an Oasis gesture. Fuck off.
But anyways, getting back to this thing. So it's got the little ball in it, and I'm really interested to see kind of how it handles, like how it tracks. Because when I was watching the video, it's like, oh, he's doing this, and it's tracking his fingers somehow.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's based on touch. Sometimes it wasn't.
That was the bizarre part. Was that he was
like,
just moving his hands like this and like hovering above this kind of ball.
So I don't know what.
And then it just kind of knew what he was doing.
I assume that ball has a sensor or something of scanning.
Maybe like
my initial thought
sensor type.
Because my initial thought was like pressure. So like if his thumb's here, it's like if your thumb's here, your hand naturally does this position. Your finger, like if you're like this, you're most likely pointing. You're very rarely, you don't do a fist like that. You do a fist with the closed. So like if you're like this, you're pointing. So I thought it was based on.
I mean,
like,
it was interesting technology.
It's really exciting.
You can see the demo if it's still rolling behind us, or in the description below. But very unique looking controller, and kind of more of what we'd like to see from Sony in the future. As we said, even though we are a PSVR focused podcast, we do dabble in the other guys, and this is one of those things that I thought was worth mentioning because all of us are kind of like
the only other thing.
Move to time.
The only issue about that.
Yeah.
No joysticks.
Yeah.
How do you move? Like locomotion move, but
I don't know.
Vive
you just point in the direction. Like,
but Vive,
let's go that way, buddy.
But Vive tends to not have that issue because they have the room set up, scale, so you can still move around.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Oculus. I don't think Oculus lets you do room scale.
Yeah.
But Vive, it's not big of an issue because they have the satellite things.
I almost got us a Vive, by the way. Almost.
Did you?
It's too much money. Yeah.
Is that from our buddy that's moving?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked him how much, and he said, and I was like,
it's too much.
I don't have that much money.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, and you should definitely check it out because, of course,
it's
we
really
are
cool.
all waiting for a new iteration of the moves, and I think
Move
something
2.0.
that had finger gestures would be very interesting. And
let's be honest. The only finger gesture, if they do finger gestures, Rockstar is gonna do a GTA.
There's gonna be so many birds.
Flip people off.
But you know what? Like this is the spotlight that we'll be doing later. But Chess Ultra is a game that I've been having fun with, and I've been playing it with the DS4, even though you can play it with the moves. And I think a game like that with full finger gestures would be really good because instead of just kind of trying to grasp things and place it, then like you'd have a lot more control and finesse and
the other thing is
that
just
kind of thing.
Making sure the tracking's accurate in Z space. That's what you got to worry about.
So, PlayStation co-founder Phil Harrison invested in the VR startup Dream Reality Interactive. And so this guy's a pretty big deal. The co-founder of, literally the PlayStation brand, Phil Harrison. And he's a big fan of VR, which is great news. He's an interesting-looking dude. But this is VR Focus reported this. He is... it's the head of Sony London studio, Dave Ranyard, is revealing this new company, Dream Reality Interactive, and Phil Harrison is invested a bunch of money into it, and they're looking at not only VR but also AR and AI, and they're working in all of these areas.
So we're just moving into the time of acronyms, essentially.
Yeah, I guess. So he said, I invested in DRA because the team is fantastic and the AR/VR sector is one of the most exciting frontiers of technology today. The studio has kept fairly quiet so far on all the IPs it might be working on, only recently announcing Hold the World, a Factory 42 production for Sky featuring Sir David Attenborough as a VR hologram.
I know that guy. I watched pretty much all of his documentaries at this
Sir
point.
David Attenborough. I watched a show with him last night, actually. It was about the origin of life. It was wonderful.
Did you watch that on YouTube?
I did.
That's why it's popping up again, because I did the same thing. I watched.
It's good.
Yeah,
right? It was an interesting show.
Was it? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It was like a year old, but it was good.
Yep.
The team that Dave had assembled at DRI represent a brilliant and fundamental part of the future shape of marketing, with the skills to harness emerging technologies and supercharge the potential of brand storytelling. Our recent experience with Stella has only reinforced our view of the importance it will present in the future. That's Michael Wool, global CEO of Mother, which is the other company that Phil Harrison does work with. So
Mother 3 announced.
Exciting.
Just kidding.
I mean, that guy probably has, a bucket load of cash, and for him to be investing.
How big's his bucket?
I mean, he's co-founder of fucking PlayStation, so I'm assuming quite big.
Unless he got out too soon.
But again, this is a good sign that there is more investment in the VR realm, whether it's specifically for PSVR or just VR in general. Again, more money, more interest, more companies that are starting up looking at AR, looking at VR, and AI as well, which AI is always an area of interest to me.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of it because I do believe that the robots will take over.
Have you watched iRobot?
Have
you watched iRobot?
I have. It was terrible.
Cool.
Have you watched Terminator? That's far more scary. Yeah. So I do kind of, and Stephen Hawkins is like terrified of AI. Do you know that? So weird. Stephen Hawkins
he's a smart man.
He's like, fucking robots are going to kill us all. Like
which he speaks through a robot voice.
Yes, exactly, right? So yeah, they could take over his voice, but no, he wouldn't quiet him.
Getting back to the money inside of VR is always good for two reasons. One, just R&D. R&D is expensive. And obviously with like people like Sony, people like Apple getting on board and partnering with Vive, I don't know if there's any sort, I'm assuming there's some sort of financial thing going on there as well. We don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But that's money going into R&D for VR to make better technology, to theoretically come quicker, to make this experience better.
And we already know that Industrial Light and Magic are putting a lot of effort behind it.
Which really they've pushed a lot of shit in the movie world. I mean, Star Wars created a whole special effects thing because of Star Wars. And one of the things that I think is always going to be good is, or keep in mind, is phone VR and
dead mosquito. I didn't even kill that one.
No.
Phone
VR and like console PC VR is different, and I think to push the technology forward, it's going to take a lot of money to do it, and I think it's going to be a long time or a lot of money or resources to get it to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But obviously, like you said, the more money, the better, the quicker we'll get there. And the more companies doing it, you'll have different ideas. That's the exchange of ideas, I think, is the coolest part, is like person A over here figures out how to do item A, person B figures out how to do item A in a different way.
Yeah.
Maybe person A and person B get together and say, hey, actually, doing item A with product C is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing. Like, we always think competition in video games, and there is competition because you're trying to sell more, especially with hardware, trying to sell more boxes than others.
It's a free market, let's be honest.
But
the free market dictates what
you can't deny that I'm sure a lot of these companies talk to each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether it's on the books, off the record, whatever, they talk and they
That's
know.
why it's such an exciting thing to be talking about with this podcast, is that VR is literally, in my eyes, the next step, the next evolution of technology in general. And it's getting to a place now where we're like, it's a reality. Like, you can't pinch yourself enough and say
it's actually a virtual reality, Tom.
Yes. But like, if you grew up in the 80s like I did, and like all this stuff seemed like a goddamn pipe dream, and you're at the point now where you can put on a headset and actually be transported, somewhat feel immersed in a world that is not yours. It's not perfect. It's not perfect at all. But we're at a point where this is so exciting.
It's become believable.
It's only beginning.
It's coming from the, like you said, from that science fiction to like, we can see what the potential is.
Yeah.
It's whether we hit that potential for
and how fast.
Yeah, and it's going to come into investors, whether it's worth getting into, that kind of thing.
I think there's too much here to give up. I think
you say that, but if everybody goes out of business before we get to the point where it's viable, that's what you're running into.
That's why this type of thing is important.
Yes. Oh, I'm great. I agree with that. But that's kind of what you got to, when it comes to the business aspect of, like, you can have a bunch of people jump in, but if they're not making money, they're going to go out of business. Yeah. So we'll see.
Buy VR
I want
stuff,
it. I want it to
everything.
happen. I mean, again, we are both huge proponents, and as much shit as I gave you during the last podcast of like, I don't think Sony's doing it well enough with VR. That's not saying I don't support VR, and I don't think VR is here to stay. I just think Sony hasn't been doing enough to convince the wide audience to do it.
They are, however, as far as consoles go, king of VR right now.
Right now, consoles.
Consoles.
Well, they're technically the number one selling VR unit as well. So
most accessible, which is what they did for Blu-ray. So,
good old HD DVDs didn't last.
Not at all. I had one. So let's move into the quickfire round. The quickfire round is basically just like a bunch of short news pieces that I thought were relatively interesting, and will accompany those with links in the description and or video footage behind me. So the first thing is, you remember we talked about Mars 2030 a little while ago. That was the game that was being co-produced by NASA. And is it NASA?
That's NASA.
I said NASA. I don't know why.
No,
the English came out.
NASA.
NASA.
National Astronautical
Space Association.
Is that what it stands for?
I don't know. So
you do that, and I'll look up what NASA stands for.
So NASA basically has a heavy hand in
National Aeronautics and Space Administration.
Oh, we were close.
That's close.
Has a hand in this game, which is basically designed to show people what it would be like to be one of the first people to actually land on the moon. Not on the moon, on Mars.
To be part of Elon Musk's.
Yeah, to be
group.
like SpaceX or whatever. This has an official release date now, and that is July 11th, which is right around the corner.
It's right after Indie PopCon.
Yeah, so that'll be here next week. That's really exciting.
Did they announce what platforms?
I think it's on all the platforms, but I'm not positive. You can check.
I'm looking real quick while you keep going.
It's definitely on PSVR, which is all that we really care about on this show. So, but yeah, March 2030 looks really interesting.
So July 11th on PC, coming soon to PS4.
Ah, that sucks. Sorry about that.
It'll be available for $14.99 on PC starting July 11th, coming soon to PS4. Download here. Supported headsets includes Vive, Oculus, and PSVR.
So all of them. Cool.
So yeah.
Anyway.
This website is really
so yeah, it looks exciting. The footage looks brilliant. It looks like, because we've had so many of these kind of space games that have fallen short a little bit. Things like Unearthing Mars and The Martian and, all this kind of
I mean,
jazz.
if NASA's backing it, it's going to be accurate.
Yeah, it's going to be accurate.
That's again, we were talking
beautiful.
We were talking earlier about the time machine.
Yeah.
The science is fucking amazing, and like VR with science is science and history in VR is a cool concept if people can pull it off right. How cool would it be to go back to the Revolution?
I really like the idea,
with George Washington.
Yeah, of utilizing VR for history. But as you can see from some of the footage that you're watching there, it is really, really stunningly looking game.
I don't know. I'm kind of leery of whether it's going to look this good, but
I mean, you always have the screen door, but it does look very impressive.
But yeah, so that's July 11th.
July 11th for PC, and then I guess hopefully soon after PSVR. There you go. Now, next up we have Stylistic RPG Redemption's Guild is coming along nicely. Is what I wrote, because obviously for a long time people were saying we need an RPG in VR. We need PSVR to have a solid full length RPG.
I think we got one.
No one was expecting Skyrim. No one had that even on their radar. At the time, the best shot of a decent-looking RPG for PSVR was a game called Redemption's Guild, which is still being built.
They're probably like, oh, fuck.
The developers are great. Like, they hop into the r/PSVR forums all the time and give us updates and let us know how it's going. And they just hopped in recently to give us sort of this extra footage of it's more of sort of an outside area. The reason why I say it's stylistic is because with a game like Skyrim, obviously realism is kind of what they're going for with that type of a game.
Realistic looking dragons.
Right, realistic dragons. But this has a very stylistic nature to it. It is actually I don't know. I wouldn't say it's like cell shaded, but it's got kind of that vibe to it, where it's just like a little bit cartoony, a little bit more bubbly. But it does have depth to it, a considerable amount of depth, and it looks great. So big shout outs to the developers of Redemption's Guild. They are still pushing forward. They have to be a little deterred from the Skyrim announcement, but I think what they're going to come out with is being built from the ground up for VR, which there's something to say about that, especially for a smaller team, as opposed to porting it to VR like Skyrim is getting the treatment for that. But obviously no knock on Skyrim.
This next one,
I
watched the trailer for it,
Go for it.
and I was just like, holy shit, this is cool. So I demoed the Vive at one of the Microsoft stores in town. And one of the things I got to do, I think it's called Google Paint. I don't know what it's actually called, but it was painting in VR. And that was probably, other than seeing a blue whale swim past my head at the time, coolest thing I've did. And to me, I just pictured immediately when I saw it, I wanted to send it to Wheezy, who's that did this. Does our
animator.
Yeah, he's our animator.
Yeah, not the trailer. The room.
The room.
Yeah.
It was really cool looking. Like, I could see me spending hours just drawing shit in VR. And one of the things that got me really interested when I did again, I won't say Google Paint, but that's not right. Whatever the painting one I did on Vive was when you realize that it wasn't 2D. Because when you draw stuff, you're so used to it being flat. Yeah. And then I just put my head and I was like, there's a Z space here. Like, Z space as somebody who does creativity with, I've done 3D graphics, I've done motion graphics, is an abstract thing because you can't go into your computer screen.
And Z space stands for zombie space.
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, X, Y, and then Z is like backwards and forward. So every screen, every screen can do X and Y. You can go up, down, left, right, but you can never do Z space in real time or in like comprehend it because you can't go into computer screen. So like when I was doing 3D text for some stuff back in the day, you have a camera that goes in and out, and it's like, oh, so I'm here, my text is here. But the fact that you could go in and walk around this artwork or whatever the hell you giant dick that you drew. Because let's be honest, that's what a lot of people are going to do. Like, look at this.
They tried it, didn't they, with Harmonix? Harmonix had that game where you would play your own music and the planet that you were on would react to your music, but they also had a drawing section in there, like an easel section, which apparently was kind of the standout part of that VR experience.
It's such a cool thing to
But
do.
obviously, this is one of the things when we talk about this, and don't worry, it's actually part of our question later in the podcast, but we talk about how there's so many things that are so simple that just haven't quite yet arrived on VR, and they're like they seem like they would be really easy to implement, at least in a half decent fashion. And a drawing game is one of them. And this game is called, because I don't think you mentioned this, Cool Paint VR.
Totally ignore the name of it.
Yeah, Cool Paint is the title. Yeah,
it'd be really cool if they it would be really cool paint if they could do if they could get this and you could share this with other VR users to show off your artwork and they could walk around it.
That would be cool.
That would be like, that to me, like I expect to be able to draw on it and do my art and experience it then. I don't expect to save it. But if you could go and then share it with the community somewhere and you could download it and view somebody else's art.
I was going to say, do you think this opens up new doors for art in general? Like, is this something that you could put in a gallery?
I don't want to say it does, but it could.
Because you could have a VR headset in a gallery that a famous artist.
Well, that's like I can't remember where it was, but they use 3DSs to give you like tours and stuff. Like they already use technology, or even like AR or stuff like that. Like there is that possibility. The only reason I don't think it would be in a gallery because you have a headset on. Yeah. Like you could do a virtual gallery. Like I could see the Smithsonian saying, "Hey, for the virtual experience, you can pay $5. Here it is. You can stream it or whatever. However they distribute it. So we'll send you a copy, whatever it may be, and you can do that." To me, that's something you can do at home. You can move around. I don't think you do it in public because, again, you wouldn't be able to see what's around you. If it's AR, then I could see it be more realistic for galleries.
Well, I see it as an exciting prospect because, as we know, with VR, not only is it revolutionizing gaming, but it's also revolutionizing the TV industry. We just had our first official sort of short 20-minute film released on the UK or Europe store, Control, which was pretty well received as far as I remember. But it's and there's a lot of other like short movie experiences like Illuminate and things like that.
Illuminate was pretty good.
That were beautiful, and I think that honestly, the VR is a potential space.
I can't remember what it was called. Invasion.
Yeah, that was decent too.
That was pretty good.
So next up, we have a game that we did touch upon, and here's the thing: the last time we mentioned this game, I had caught a trailer for it in the forums that we frequent, and the trailer was completely mysterious. It was like, here's a game, here's the name, it's VR. That's all we know. Like there was no tie to any kind of a what do you call it? A headset. There was no release date. I don't even think the fucking company name was on there. It was just this really random video about this sort of proof of concept thing in VR, and that was called The American Dream. So the idea was it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek game where you have to go sort of throughout your day using your guns to basically do everything. And it's kind of like job simulator style.
Eating donuts here.
But like, you know, if you have to make toast, then you have to like shoot the toaster thing down and then shoot the toast onto your plate, and like it's just ridiculous. I think you're looking at a gif of some donuts
somebody
right
grab
now.
me donuts.
Grab some donuts and shoot through the donut holes. But it's basically this like really ridiculous take on the gun obsession of American culture. So they just released a new trailer called the 4th of July trailer, aptly, because today is recording, it's the 4th of July. So there's a bunch more information now that's available on this. So if you head over to Upload VR, by the way, still guys, fuck Upload VR, but they have some information, so head over there. But they're talking about the stuff that was released at PAX East. There's a link in the description for that, and of course there's some footage behind us as well for the 4th of July trailer. But looks really, really kind of neat. As a not big gun guy, it's kind of an excuse for me to get my hands dirty.
I love the job simulator style. Like
So
that to me is a VR game.
You're kind of pumped on it. Then?
I'm like cool.
Awesome.
Because I love, as you know, I like the stupid shit you can do in VR of just chucking shit around.
I can't think of anything much more stupid as shooting everything. Next up, Special
you
Force
underestimate people.
VR gets a new gameplay trailer. It looks like arcadey FPS fun. So Special Force is essentially like an arcadey FPS. It's lots of like points and colors and boom, 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 and it looks cool.
I'm gonna say I feel like we're getting to the point where we were with space games. We're getting to the point where there's just a lot of first-person shooter games.
I don't know. I don't think we're there yet.
You got Farpoint.
Yeah.
You got Bravo Team.
Yeah. That's 2.
You've got Arizona Sunshine.
3.
You've got Until Dawn.
Until Dawn? Well, that's different though. That's a gallery shooter.
You're still shooting. It's a shooting
No,
game.
this is an actual like fully controllable, like a Farpoint. This is like you can move and dodge.
Resident Evil.
It's more like Bravo Team.
Resident Evil. It's got guns in it.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call it an FPS.
I feel like we're getting to the cycle where we're past space games now. Let's go shoot things.
But this is the perfect platform for those games, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you oversaturate it. It's like I said for TCSX. If you have too much shit, nobody's gonna find the good ones.
That's fair. That's fair. This game looks interesting to me. I'm
not shitting on the game. I just think there's too many of these in general.
That's fine. I don't think that this is necessarily like Bravo Team territory of good. But it does look interesting, and if you're into like arcadey shooters, then I'm sure you'll have a good time with it. Also, Gunheart has a new locomotion overview. Gunheart, another FPS.
Oh, look at that!
Look at that! Just released a new trailer, specifically kind of showing off a little bit of the locomotion aspects of it. It previously only showed off teleportation.
I will put a bet right now that you will talk about a first-person shooter. Not next week, because we won't have a show next week. But the week after, there will be a first-person shooter in the news somewhere.
We'll find out.
Unless you intentionally leave it out.
Set your calendars.
Unless you intentionally leave it out.
I am petty enough to do that. But Gunheart has this new locomotion overview trailer, which looks interesting, gives a little bit more depth of the experience of Gunheart. If you know nothing about Gunheart, continue watching this TV behind me.
It's like Braveheart with guns.
I mean... Maybe. I've not played it, but it does look interesting, and I just like the fact they're including locomotion. As you know, I am not the biggest teleportation fan, so the fact that they are they're allowing locomotion in the game and actually making it look half decent is exciting to me. So Gunheart, really exciting. Check out the trailer either behind us or below in the description. Moving on from that, this is something that kind of got confirmed accidentally on purpose by the developers, and that is Ultrawings. Ultrawings has, and I use quotation marks, basically been confirmed for PSVR. Essentially, BitPlanet Games did a tweet that said, a hint of things to come, hashtag PSVR, hashtag indie dev, hashtag indie game, hashtag Ultrawings, and then showed a picture of Ultrawings.
And then quickly deleted it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably.
But they also did something shortly afterwards on Facebook, which was again hinting towards it. But Ultrawings is basically
looks really cool.
You behind a plane.
You know what this reminds me of? Looking at these screenshots here, it reminds me of Pilot Wings.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Like it's not a. I still think we should have a real flight simulator in VR because I think
it's not realistic.
But it's not realistic. Cool. But it looks a lot of fun. There was a shot there where the dude was flying. I'm gonna say it's like the helicopter thing from Far Cry, where it's not quite a helicopter, but it's got.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called.
I don't know.
But then he's holding a gun, shooting balloons.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
That to me is awesome. Like,
it looks like a fun game, and I imagine in VR the sense of inertia and things like that would be
I wonder if they're going to have, for a game like that, based on what I'm seeing, I wonder if it's going to be a like a high score game where like I can compete against my friends, be like, hey, I shot 30 balloons in 20 seconds.
Maybe.
Reverse that, 20 balloons in 30 seconds. Or if it's just like progression thing.
The other kind of interesting thing about it is it looks like a game that could truly benefit from Move 2.0. Because you are essentially using the move sticks to control like the flight path and the other things like that, and I think you probably will be able to use the what do they call it, Joy-Con or whatever, like the actual like thing, the air stick that you can buy, like the wheel,
the flight stick,
that thing. Yeah, one of them. It looks like you could potentially use that. I'm not sure yet, but
one of the things I'm gonna poke a hole in your argument as I'm good at doing.
Did I have an argument? I didn't realize.
Well, you were talking about how it'd be
benefit
good from
Move
2.0. I think this is fine with Move as it is, because if you look, you have throttle, which you can put up and down, and you got a stick. All you need to do is once you're throttled, you steer with the stick. And then you can go throttle down.
I feel like having analog sticks might be nicer for.
But that takes you out of the realism of controlling the ship if you use an analog stick.
That's fair.
That's my counter to that argument. But there's some people that do like the minutia, like you.
Minutia. Word of the day.
Cattywampus and minutia.
Yesterday, minutia is the word of the day today.
What's your word of the day?
I don't know. I'll think of something. So, that's your news roundup for this week. A little light, not a whole lot going on there.
We were able to talk about it for a while, though.
Yeah, I mean, there was the Smelling the Girls. There was the PlayStation co-founder putting some money into VR. There was Ultrawings coming out, and there's a bunch of other kind of cool little tidbits in there too.
The controllers. That's probably my favorite part.
Yeah, the Steam controller thing. Yeah.
I do this because it just.
So let's move on to the spotlight. Trying to keep the show short. So the spotlight is actually my choice this week. You had last week you had Star Trek Bridge Crew. This week
should have picked it up.
This week,
sorry, didn't mean to yell at them.
Chess Ultra VR by Ripstone.
Which sounds really dumb because chess is such a boring game.
Come on now.
But
it's like the oldest game in the world.
But I'm so excited to try it in VR.
It's great.
Like it's one of those things where it's like this shouldn't be a good game. Like I shouldn't care about chess.
Right.
But I do.
I want to give a disclaimer to this because I recorded footage for this game and I'd like to apologize in advance. Please don't watch me play this game. I'm so fucking bad at this game. At least at one point in this video that you're watching, I am literally chasing the king around the board and just like, and it's just like the whole time.
You don't know how to
so bad at chess, but there is tutorials on this game, and I intend to do them and to learn how to be better. So let's talk about it. So this is available on PlayStation 4, PlayStation VR, PC, HTC Vive, Oculus, and Xbox One in both 4K and VR. So you don't have to VR it if you don't want to.
So if you get that Xbox One X, whenever that comes out in November.
Better on Xbox One X. And I'm sure better on PlayStation Pro too because of the 4K element in there. Now, in VR, it is not the prettiest game. Let's get that out of the way. It's fuzzy. It's not game-breakingly fuzzy, but it's fuzzy.
Are you looking? So I'm picturing you sitting at the table.
Why don't you just watch the TV?
Looking down. I can't see it. It's you sitting at the table looking down at the chessboard.
Yeah,
right. That's exactly all. Like it's, and you can lean in.
Yeah, essentially, when you're playing against a there's one character that actually has an avatar, and I'll get into that. But there's one character that has an avatar. Everyone else is like an invisible person. You are sat in a location, usually a kind of an upper class location, like a study or something.
I would love to have it like out in. Was it before Up where they had the chess guy out in the park? That'd be a cool one.
That would be great. Actually, that would be good inclusion. But so you have your chessboard, you have like this really beautiful atmosphere. It's like if they're playing like the game that I'm playing here, the music on the radio was Ave Maria, which is, just super chill. You didn't know that song, did you, when I said it before? Do you want me to sing it for you again?
No.
Okay. So Ave Maria is playing, very relaxed, very chill. And you can play this with either moves or the DS4. And
options are always good.
I played it with the DS4 because, frankly, I thought it would be really awkward to be like picking pieces.
Did you try it? Did you try the moves at all?
I have not yet. Okay. No,
because that's what I'm curious about, is seeing how accurate.
Yeah, that was my concern.
One of the things I run into Star Trek is my hand goes too low.
Yeah.
And it's like, your move is no longer there. And
I
never
have a good time with the moves. The only game I've ever successfully enjoyed with them, two games, were London Heist and
you've also got a small space between your camera and the thing.
That's true.
So that's part, because when I'm at home, I tend to not have as much of an issue because I've got a little bit, when I push everything out of the way, that is, I get a little bit more room. Because I think the moves, they recommend you like 7 feet or something, and you're probably right at that limit.
Yeah, if you have a smaller room, the DS4 might be a better option. For me, I preferred it that way. But of course, with the moves, it is a bit more immersion.
So DS4 controller.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask a few questions here.
Sure.
When you're DS4ing, do you have hands? Do you just swipe through and select and move?
No,
and
so
how does it work?
literally you don't see anything on screen representing your controller. All you do is you have your DS4, and then when you're looking at the board, you have a white square around wherever you are on the board.
You're highlighted.
And then you click on whichever piece you want, and then it shows you options as to where you can take that.
So you don't actually have to know how to play chess. It'll tell you where it can go.
I still sucked at it, but yes. And then you can
there's still strategy involved with where you need to move them.
For sure.
But
you can choose like where you want to put them. You press X, it moves it to that place.
So
Very simple.
then the question I have for you is, what's the point of playing this in VR?
The immersion,
okay.
I think, it's so much more enjoyable because I don't have a beautiful study playing Ave Maria and
I beg to differ.
Well, I mean, I have a grimy basement that we record podcasts in.
Watch us change the background. It's up to you though.
But it's just a little bit of the immersion, but also there's a lot more to the game. So let me go through a little bit more of what we're dealing with here. So there are 10 Grandmaster approved AI levels. Do
you know what Grandmaster is?
Yeah, super chess god. Basically, right? Someone that won the Grandmaster thing. But yeah, so the AI levels are insane. And they have a lot of these kind of like, a lot of sports games have those kind of like historic moment things, like where you have
Madden moments, Gatorade moments.
Right. They do that. They have like, this is a game of, 2 Russian names I can't pronounce versus each other, and you can like...
Russians are really good at chess. They're good at problem solving.
You can recreate that game, and it kind of like gives you points and stuff for doing that, which I think is an excellent addition.
Does it have a timer? Do you have a timer
I think
mode?
there's an option for one, but I did not use one.
Okay.
I think there's an option for one.
Because that, like, professional chess uses, you get that timer.
There's comprehensive time controls, including classical, blitz, and marathon, that are all also available online. You can play this online, by the way. But I did not get to the tap and the timer thing, so I don't know. I don't want to give you 100%, but I think
because that to me is like, if you're gonna go full balls to the wall chess, you want the timer. Right. I don't do balls to the wall. I just have fun.
I think it's in there somewhere. I didn't play it long enough. I really want to get back into it.
I wonder if we could play split screen. Like if you're in VR and I'm not in VR, I wonder if we could. Probably not.
That I don't know.
I don't think it would let you.
So they did overhaul the local and the online multiplayer, and they have ELO as their ranking system. ELO, in case you don't know, is a method for calculating the relative skill levels of players in competition, sort of competitor versus competitor games.
Otherwise known as ELO.
Yeah. So they have the full-on ELO system, which is actually used in professional chess. They also have an export portable game notation, or PGN, for every game, locally and online. So a portable game notation is a plain text computer processable format for recording chess games, both the moves and related data, supported by many chess programs. So this basically means that after you finish a game, you can actually get like a text version of the game you played, so you can study it,
analyze it.
If you really want to be like super chess god,
if you want to be the best like no one ever was,
exactly,
to chess them is my real test.
But how cool is it for them to include something like that in this? I mean, this is supposed to be kind of a whimsical experience.
So we joked when we saw this
trailer was
the first time, we were just like, this game looks dumb, but chess sounds dumb. It doesn't sound like it should be exciting. It sounds boring. Dumb is the wrong word. Boring.
As exciting as a chess game.
Yeah, and it's just like they clearly are doing this right for the people that care about chess.
This is like the ultimate.
I just wonder how big this audience is. Like how?
I mean, I play it. I don't even know how to play
big is the chess VR audience?
Dude,
what's your pool there?
I haven't tried going online yet, but so they have on top of that, they have full Twitch integration, inviting you to play against your community
on PC,
and in-depth tutorials to help improve your game, which is definitely a section I need to spend more time in. The visuals are a little blurry, as I mentioned before, and it's kind of like, I don't know how they would make it sharper other than some kind of graphical patch of some kind. I mean, if they can do 4K without the VR, you feel like they could update the graphics a little bit. Here's the really cool part. Once you get through all of the main game, you have, in single-player mode, a final level. and it is.
Is it a final
fucking
boss?
Classic. Yes, it is literally death. You remember the old adage of playing death for your life? Like you play a game of chess with death, and if you win, then you get whatever you want, usually life if you're dead. So you get to play in Gomorrah, which is like, you know, this fucking hellscape. On top of like a mountaintop, you get to play a full avatared death and play him in a chess game, which I think is fucking amazing.
How do you avatar death?
It's just like fucking the Grim Reaper. You're sat across the table from the Grim Reaper.
I was like, I picture like the Dementor.
No,
well, Harry Potter.
Kinda, yeah, look, he's got the robe and everything. But yeah, you're literally
terrifying.
sat across the table from the Grim Reaper playing chess on a mountaintop in Gomorrah, which I think is like, I mean, how do you get more exciting than that in a chess game? I don't know.
You have flames in the background.
There is. It's Gomorrah. It's a fucking.
Are you sitting in a volcano?
I don't know. But I think you're on top of a mountain. Maybe on top of a volcano. I don't know.
Could be.
But it's super awesome. I did not obviously get that far. I am not very good at chess, as I mentioned. And
You've said it multiple times.
Witnessed if you've been watching this gameplay while I've been talking. But Chess Ultra VR is really a very enjoyable experience.
What's the price?
The price was not a lot. I don't remember off the top of my head. I think I paid $15. So like hardly anything for a game of this magnitude. Obviously, you have to kind of be a little bit interested in chess. Like I'm borderline interested in chess.
Yeah.
Like I could never sit and watch a chess game in like a real match or whatever.
An esport. Make picture this becoming an esport.
Right. So I mean, it might. I
or
guess.
V-sport.
But I had a great time playing it, considering I'm terrible at it. I think the options are.
Well, I was going to say
vast.
one of the things we always talk about when it comes to games is, especially in a game like this, what makes it stand out? It's those little details that they've added in the like you said, the atmosphere, the music, the Grandmaster approved levels, like those kind of things, like add up to like, why should you buy this game? Somebody could easily just put out a chess game and say, here's chess.
Absolutely.
Here's chess VR.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're like, we did chess VR, but we're going to take it the next step to make you want to buy chess VR.
Yeah. This is a chess game for chess fans, and if you don't like
or
chess,
casual chess
you
fans,
can still enjoy it because of the amount of extra detail it's in.
Because I've not played chess in years.
Me
as I said before, I started a chess club in elementary school.
Yeah. I think you'd really enjoy it. I honestly think you'd enjoy it.
I think I would too.
You're welcome to use my account.
I'd rather play Star Trek in VR than chess right now.
Okay.
Because I need to get my platinum, and I don't care about trophies, but I care about this trophy because that game is so good.
I might have to play chess to calm down before our road trip on Thursday, so I may play some chess in the morning and see if I can beat death. And if I can beat death in chess, then I can make it to Indie Popcorn with you. Huh?
It's today for them.
Whatever. Sorry, time is, it's all wibbly wobbly.
It's all relative.
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey. So with that being said, I was thinking about this because chess was a really fun experience for me, despite not knowing how to play chess. I really enjoyed it, and I started thinking, like, we often talk about how we really wanted a fishing game, and they kind of half-assed a fishing game with the Final Fantasy Monsters of the Deep thing. That's
you've got Dick Wild, which is a shooting fish game.
Kind of, yeah, I guess that counts. And I thought about, like, chess is such a simple game. It's almost to a point where you're like, why wasn't this a launch title? Like, why wasn't this something that was already, like, the easiest thing you could think of to put out? And you could see, I guess, with the in-depth amount of stuff they put in there, why maybe they held off a little bit longer. But... Or
they were waiting to get the machine to develop on.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee that, what's the name of this
It's on other platforms. It's on other platforms.
Probably didn't have the dev kit at launch.
That's true. So my question, and I put this to you, dear viewers / listeners, and also to you, sir,
dear Keegan,
is if you could choose one sport, and I'm being very loose with the definition of sport because I'm including things that some people don't think are sports. You can include NASCAR, to be made into a top-of-the-line AAA VR game. What would it be, and how would it look and play? Similar to when I asked you about the Uncharted thing with TCSX yesterday.
Are we going to argue? Sorry, we're not going to argue today, probably.
We're not going to argue today because
Tom can't take the emotional abuse.
We'll argue plenty in Indiana, I'm sure. So what do you what do you want?
I have a feeling the next topic we'll argue about, if it's the one I think it is. Not this show, but 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
I have a good topic for you.
If you have a topic, sure. We'll
answering your question.
Answer my question.
It would be NASCAR. I want a good NASCAR game. I want a good NASCAR game not in VR, but a good NASCAR game in VR. What that NASCAR game would be? Couple things. One, obviously I want to be for perspective of a driver. I want to have a good, solid career mode where I work my way up the ranks to...
So you want full first person? Do you want options for third person?
I want options So Star Trek lets you, like, you push a button, you pop out. I want that. I don't want it to switch cameras. I want the option to, like, I can pop out of the car now for certain things.
Okay.
But the reason I don't want the camera to completely switch is I feel like that then would break the point of having the first person for the racing game. So the thing I'd want is I want a career with some sort of progression where you can then, as you work up your career, kind of like they did in NASCAR 06, where you start in the lowest ranks. So you can start in the truck series. You could either start your own team, or you get hired on by a team, and then as you progress, as years go along, people in the upper ranks retire. You can take their rides, and so eventually I could drive the 24 car if Chase Elliott retires, or the 14 car if Clint Boyer retires.
What do these sections that are not driving look like?
What do you mean, the sections that are not driving?
Like
the NASCAR race
you
is driving.
talked about how you make a team or whatever. Like, what does that look like?
So there's then.
Is that a cutscene, or is that?
So here's a couple things. So
do you have to answer questions?
So one thing with so that's the gameplay I want is the first person and the driver. Along with the gameplay, I want also the ability to do a crew chief mode. Do you know what a crew chief is in NASCAR?
No.
So a crew chief, for those of you who don't follow NASCAR, which I'm sure is probably quite a few of you.
Everyone else.
No, there's a few million of us out there.
If you watch NASCAR, put it in the comments, please. I would.
And
love
who's your
to
favorite driver?
Sure.
Casey Kane. Kyle Larson right now, he's doing pretty good. But no, so the crew chief is the guy that sits on top of the pit box and makes the decisions.
Right.
So think of it like a manager on a baseball team. That's what he is. He calculates, okay, so you've got this much fuel in your car, you've burned this much during this many laps. How do I get to the end? What is the strategy I need to do? What is the adjustments I need to do?
So you want some strategy management in there as well. The
Yes.
option to be both the driver and the strategist.
I would not in the same race though. It would be two different modes.
Right.
But yes, I would love that, and that way you could look up from the pit box and see what's going on. Get the information for the driver. The driver would give you feedback. Even if this was like co-pilot mode, that would be cool as well. Give you feedback, and then during the pit stops, you'd say, if you're the crew chief, you're like, change 4 tires, give me 2 cans of fuel, take 1 turn out of the wedge, drop the track bar this much, change the brake bias this much. Like, have that decision. When it comes to your question of how would you build teams, the perfect scenario is I have a menu that I go in and say, you're starting your team from scratch. We're going to pretend that you have X amount of dollars to start your team. You start in and you start with the menu of like, where would you like to start your team? So you have places. So,
locations, yeah.
Yeah, North Carolina, Phoenix.
St. Louis.
St. Louis doesn't have too many race teams. I'm thinking places that actually have race teams. But you could. And based on that, you'll have different stats for potential income, sponsorships, all that kind of stuff. So like in St. Louis, if you were in St. Louis and your local team, you're more likely to get the Budweiser sponsorship since Budweiser is based here versus if you're in North Dakota.
Do you have to go to like a meeting with Budweiser and try and convince them to get you a sponsorship, or is that just all background?
I would love for it to be foreground. I think that's too in depth.
But you could have like a kind of a career mode. You know what I mean? Like, you know how like Madden's got that, was it one shot or whatever they do? Long shot,
it's
whatever.
the new one.
Like something where you mix in a bit of a story.
Well, NBA 2K does this where you have to talk to your owner about things. But
okay.
What I would love to do is you go and you pick where you want to go. You then have a building that you can choose. And again, prices change the size of the building, and you have to upgrade your building as you go along, as you make more money to potentially become more successful,
more strategy,
get more employees, that kind of stuff. So inside your building, you then have all the different teams, so that you have a chassis team, a bodywork team, engine team.
So you want NASCAR XCOM edition?
Yeah, pretty much. Like you have all these teams that you've got to manage.
Right.
But the managing of those teams you don't have to do anything with those. You just have to manage them. So you say for R&D for engine, maybe our engines keep failing. R&D for engine, up that budget by 20%.
It's going to take 5 days for them to
it's going to take something from somebody else.
This thing work better, and your race is coming up in 6.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you've got for the sponsorship side of things, I do like the idea of going in and talking to them, or having a list of sponsors that you could potentially talk to.
It could also just be like a prize for winning. You know what I mean? Like you win 3 races and Budweiser talks to you as opposed to you having to go to Budweiser.
Well, so you'd have some sort of reputation system,
right?
Is what it would be. So you would start out and your sponsors would be something small. So it would be really cool if they did like local sponsors. I think that's too far because you'd have to get local sponsors from everywhere. Everybody sign up. That's money that probably people don't want to spend. But you could have, even if you did smaller companies initially, of like NASCAR has different sponsors. You have the primary sponsor on the hood. You have the secondary sponsor on the tail, and then you have the ones on the sides. So the primary sponsorship, to give you an idea of real world numbers here, it's about 18 to 25 million to have your name on the front of that car for all 36 36 races for a season. If you're on the tail of the car, it's roughly 10 to 12.
Seems like a waste of money.
It's not. There's people that do it, and there's been companies made from sponsorship deals. Because it's all TV time. So when you're looking at a car on like a NASCAR broadcast, that's all you see.
So but the focus of this question is the VR portion. So I understand that you already have the perfect NASCAR game in your head, which you came wildly prepared for this question, by the way.
I didn't even see it until you didn't see it earlier, but I scrolled down. I was like, "What's this question?"
No, it's good. But okay, so we know.
So the VR
you
section,
want to be first person. Yeah, but let's talk about the management aspect of it. So okay,
so you
have your strategy and everything. What does that look like?
You'd have meetings with each team about what you need to do. So you could go into a meeting room and see people talking that way. You could go up to one of the things would it be
like a wheel of answers, or
I'm thinking like 2K style, where it's like you have questions you can ask. So like if you say you're in with the engine team, one of the questions you can ask is, how do we get more horsepower? We can get more horsepower by researching this, but that will affect durability. Okay, so if you affect durability, what do you think that'll do to how long our engines are going to last? Like, what's your estimate? Like that back and forth type thing. The other thing that'd be really cool is just a showroom of walking around the cars. Like, I know that's really stupid, but like you could see people building cars real time in front of you. Cool. That would be really cool. Wind tunnel experiences, that kind of stuff. Like for VR, like this section of the game, the management is a tiny part. Obviously the big section is racing. Right. That's the bulk of the game, is you sitting there doing racing. But the management stuff, if you're inside the shop, I want you to be inside the shop, moving around, and instead of being a menu to go to the different teams, you're walking around. Your engine shop's over here, your chassis shop's over here, your body shop's over here, your wind tunnel's back there, and you have to walk to these places, talk to Bill, who's in charge of the chassis shop, and say, "Hey, Bill, tell me what's going on with your team right now. Tell me which of your employees are having issues, which of your employees are doing well. How should I fire anybody? Should I hire anybody? Should I change pay raise?" Like, perfect scenario. I would go from shop through the week. So you start on Monday, because NASCAR races on Sunday. Start on Monday. You do your team meeting on Monday. Talk about the week before. Blah 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 blah. And then throughout the week, you have different management things you have to do. So you can only maybe schedule a meeting with the team once a week. So or one meeting a day, or whatever it may be. So maybe you have Budweiser come to you and say, "Hey, we have the opportunity to talk to you on Tuesday. Normally Tuesday is your day that you talk to the Aero guys. Do you talk to Budweiser or you talk to the Aero guys?" Yeah. So that kind of thing, like stuff like that, I think would be really fun.
NASCAR, I hope you're listening, because I don't like you, but Keegan, I'm pretty sure, just made the best possible NASCAR game that could
probably really hard to do.
Probably very. But no, so all of that in VR, please.
But getting back to VR, like the racing, obviously racing would be VR, high graphics. I mean, the big thing you want from a VR racing game is it look pretty and it feel realistic.
Immersion.
One of the things I really would love from a NASCAR game in VR is when you're racing at Daytona, you're racing wherever you may be, and you're going full speed. The sense of speed, because those things go 200 miles an hour.
The inertia.
And the effect of the wind. Like, I want to feel it. Like,
just put a fan in front of you.
Well, I don't want to feel it on my face, but I'm saying like the car. So if you're going down the straightaway and you've got a car in front of you, you got a car in front of you. You can hear the wind. It also will affect the car, how stable it is.
Right.
So if you're going in and you turn out from that car, you then have the wind on your front and it'll slow you down versus going faster with that. Or
slipstream.
Slipstream essentially is same concept. Or another.
Are you impressed that I know a word?
I mean, it's called drafting, but slipstream is the same concept. Or the other thing you have is if you come up behind a car, come up behind a car too quick, you make an air bubble. It sounds different, and it makes the car in front of you get loose, so you can get by him. Like a lot of these are gameplay things, not necessarily VR based, but VR would add to the immersion of being that person and being your character.
But NASCAR races are quite long, yes?
They can be up to 3 hours, sometimes 4.
Would you handle 3 hours in VR?
But you would have the option to choose how long the race is. So every NASCAR race usually has 3%, 5%, 10%, 25%. Some have 50 and then 100%. Could I be able to handle 3 hours in NASCAR? Probably. I can handle 3 hours in like
Star Trek.
Yeah, like
but
those
games.
Not
with a sense of inertia.
Yes, but I still feel like it would be different because I'd be in the cockpit.
Gotcha.
So
you get breaks and stuff with the
and like when you're pitting, one of the dumbest things that I'd be excited about is like actually pitting my car on pit road. Like you have to go the pit road speed limit. You pit, the car just goes whoop, and you go whoop, and then when the jack drops, you gotta hit the gas and go.
Right.
Like the stupid little tiny things like that I'm like,
the minutia.
Yeah, the minutia is what would get me excited about a VR game. But I don't think there's, like you said, I'm saying the perfect NASCAR game. I think VR would just add to it. It wouldn't be necessarily that this is the best
VR
game.
to you is like just the cherry on top of what you already have.
I just want a really good NASCAR game because let's be honest, the NASCAR game that's coming out this year has already gotten shat on. They're giving away.
I didn't know they were still making them.
They're giving vouchers for a ticket to a race because they can't fucking sell the game.
Right.
And the game's not even out yet.
That sucks.
Yeah. Anyways, what's yours? Is yours as in depth as that?
Not as in depth, no.
You're like, I want volleyball. I want Extreme Beach Volleyball too.
So, see me in a bikini. So here's the thing.
Do you want to make an avatar of you in a bikini? Because that'd be weird.
I am a avid poker fan, and I think poker's a sport.
Poker face.
Thanks for that. I think poker's a sport. I know a lot of people disagree, much the same as NASCAR. I
like how neither of us chose a traditional sport because I was like basketball wouldn't work.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean,
hockey wouldn't work.
Soccer/football in VR would be cool, but it'd be weird. Like Headmaster does a pretty good job of that.
If you did like a goalkeeper game, that might work. But then you'd still be jumping around.
But then again, it's like it's a static part of the game. So I think that something like poker makes perfect sense.
We're sitting at the table
because you have location.
Would it be
a lot of options?
A World Series poker style, like tournament style, or would it be just?
I would like there to be all options. So here's my kind of thought process.
So unlimited budget.
Obviously, you have the full VR immersion is you with your avatar. If you're playing in a single-player mode in, like, let's say a World Series or whatever, that you have fully realized avatars around you that have facial mechanics and ticks and things like that. So the one thing that computer games fail to convey with poker a lot of the time is that obviously half of the game is you paying attention to tells and paying attention to the way people are continually doing these same things over and over again, how they react to things that you're doing, that kind of stuff. So I would want it to be like L.A. Noire level facial animation, so that when you're sat at this table and your head's up with someone, you can actually stare at them and try and figure out if they have a tell or if they just look nervous, or there's like that kind of level of AI that you have going on. I think that in single player that would be pretty easy to pull off. Obviously multiplayer would be a lot harder because you can't really, like, unless they're not going to put like, oh, do a tell, like it's not going to work. But for single player, I think that would be a really cool mechanic.
Well, multiplayer, you also would have the voices.
That's true.
That's the other thing, based on somebody's voice.
Multiplayer, I would love to see invested as well. I think it would be nice to have almost like a story type mode, because obviously when it comes to poker, there are several different tournaments, and they usually all build up to the World Series. So you have, like, let's say
World
you
Poker
start
Tour is the other
like
big one.
just with your friends in a house playing poker, and like just your buddies, and then you get outside of the house, and let's say you go to like the local shitty casino, the shittiest casino you can find, and then you do the rounds there, and then you build up from there, and then you go to like a better casino.
You go to Vegas.
And then
go to Atlantic City.
Yeah, you go to a Vegas casino, and they have a satellite that if you win the satellite, then you get a free seat to the Heartland Poker Tour or something. Then you go to the Heartland Poker Tour, and if you win the Heartland Poker Tour, then you get satellited into the World Series. So then you're in the World Series, and then you're going to build through. Now this would be a long season of games.
Because my initial thought was, because I was like, let me expand upon your idea of like, why don't you just make a whole casino in VR?
No,
but you want progression. So that's where it throws it off.
I want to go from you playing poker with your friends at a table, having a laugh, which would, and that could be a scenario that you could also choose for multiplayer. I think for multiplayer, you should be able to choose where you're playing, because the setting and the immersion is everything.
I would love to have stupid settings, like really, like
playing
picture
a beach
yourself,
or something.
on the beach on a yacht somewhere in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
why not sharks all around? You could have some silly modes, but I do want it to be semi-serious in the fact that there's a lot of poker games that just focus on either you are in the World Series or it is multiplayer only. There's nothing that really gives you a sense of progression as from becoming a low-key poker player and then learning kind of skills and tips and tricks and making your way up through the ranks, especially things like learning how to do tells and body language and that kind of stuff. You could even control your own body language and have, like, maybe you have an urge when you see pocket rockets or aces, when you pick up and you see you have two aces,
when you see that
your character could, like, start shaking or something, and you have to, like, balance it out or close yourself in or like duck down or do something in VR that actually negates that for the other players, so they don't. So you have tells too, perhaps, that you are uncontrolled tells. But I would love to see a game of that magnitude. I think poker is perfect because poker is easy, man. It's like the settings and everything would be the hardest part. The actual game, super easy to do, super easy to generate. There's a million poker. You could play like 5,000 poker games on an iPhone right now. Just get a good quality AI in there, have a nice environment. You could have a drink, and let's say if you're playing with the moves, you could like pick up your drink and swig it. That could be something that'd be really cool. That you smoke a cigar like in London Heights.
Star Trek just added, and I thoroughly enjoy them, as voice commands.
Yeah.
So instead of having to push a button to say
fold,
to fold or to whatever, you have to say it. So like if you're like debating whether to call or raise,
that would be amazing. Because
that way you could tell, again, especially with multiplayer, like if somebody says raise, you could tell based on how they say raise.
And remember, there's all kinds of sensors in VR too, so even things like heavy breathing could be picked up and then portrayed as well. If you were to have a cigar at your table, you could smoke the cigar in a kind of a cocky manner, as kind of like a, what do you got for me? And that kind of stuff could even be microtransaction related. I wouldn't care. Or you could win that type of stuff from playing games, like, oh, you won the opportunity to start with a cigar at the table or whatever it might be. But I think a fully fledged both single player campaign that is more of an actual like
progression
rise system,
a reputation system.
Yeah. Versus a really thorough multiplayer, policed multiplayer, because obviously the same kind of principles we were talking about with TCSX and Friday the 13th. You want to make sure that people aren't just being like racist dickheads.
So here's a question I have for you then.
Sure.
In your career mode.
Yeah.
You have the progression of from your table to the next event to the next event to the next event, so on and so forth. What happens if, say, you're 3 events in and you lose? Do you go back down to the event? Do you just restart that event? How does that work?
It's a good question. So that they usually handle that a couple different ways. It could just be that you go back to the smaller circuits and start having to build up cash again. So you could. It doesn't necessarily have to be like tournament. It could be that you can do free play games. This is usually how they do it in real poker games, not like real life, but like real video game poker games. What they'll do is say, okay, you can play a couple like free rounds just at the casino, and then if you win those, then you build up your pot, and then once you have enough pot, then you can try again at the tournament.
Gotcha.
So you play like 5 games, you win a bunch of cash, you're like, okay, now I have the buy-in to play.
Because I would hate to get to the World Series of Poker, then lose, and you're like, well, I got to do this all over again.
No, you would just go back to like the one below, play a couple games, or maybe like you open these locations so that you can choose wherever you want to go. You can win money off your friends, but if you're winning off your friends, it's an easier game, so you're not going to get as much money. But if you go to the casino in Vegas and you start winning there, you win a bigger pot, so it's quicker for you to get back into the World Series. That type of a thing. But of course, customizable avatars, things like that would be big in there as well. But I just think that poker is a really easy game to pull off. I think it's amazing we don't have a
Would you incorporate the moves?
I think they should be an option. Yeah, I think the DS4 would be similar to the Chess Ultra, where you just basically it's button based, but if you have the moves, then everything could be like you can actually like push a stack of chips in and like pick up your cards and look at them. I think that would be great. Like being able to kind of lift your just fold up the flaps of your cards on the table and place them down would be amazing. And I think that is a game that immersion would make all the difference, and it's such an easy thing to implement. So that would be my choice. I think I would love to see a fully, and again, even if they just make an online poker game where you can just look at the cards and shit, I'd be happy. But if we're gonna do like poker justice, let's do it justice the same way that we did chess justice, and let's have poker ultra VR or whatever,
add
4K,
the immersion to it.
At that extra level of immersion. Maybe even have like similar things like tutorials, or like this is where you get to play a hand that Daniel
Negreanu,
Kid Poker was playing in the World Series 94 or whatever, like have like special moments and things like that. So yeah, that's what I
so NASCAR and poker.
By the way, Dennis Phillips was the name of the guy from St. Louis that I finally remembered. Yeah.
Cool.
NASCAR and poker. What would you do? If you had the choice to pick any game that is sports related and turn it into a VR game, what would it be, and what would it look
and how would you implement it?
Yeah, how would you implement it?
Because that's why I immediately, because my first reaction is like, oh, I'd love to have a basketball game, but it's like, you couldn't really
that'd be really hard
do that.
I mean, you can move controllers maybe, but I don't.
Well, they have that 2K one where that's the problem.
Terrible.
It's like, but NASCAR to me makes sense. Poker makes sense. Like, certain games I think don't make sense in VR.
I think fishing makes sense. That type of stuff, like chess and those board games, make perfect sense. Dungeons and Dragons would be cool, because Dungeons and Dragons you could play online like Werewolves Within.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, Werewolves
Yeah.
Within? Yeah,
Yes.
Werewolves Within style.
Also, shout out to Ubisoft for all
But
their
then you
support.
could like when you have a scenario, like your
could go into
world
that
could
world.
change. You know what I mean? And that would be really great. That would be something.
That'd
to
actually
look
make me
at.
play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah, that's what we would choose. What would you choose? That's it for Codename Morpheus episode 2. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for the support on the first episode.
The support and just being awesome. Please do engage with us. Comment with us. You know that engagement is the best thing that you can do to help us out. Share our stuff. Comment with us. We love to hear from you. We love to answer back.
Also, you might get replies from both of us, but we tag it with who it is.
Yeah,
so
I
you know.
I tag my name. And
I
if
tried to start doing it.
Yeah.
That way,
so there you
know,
go.
and then I can get confused.
But we love you guys so much. And remember, next week, no Codename Morpheus, no TCSX, no Level 2 podcast, but we will have a menagerie of content from Indie PopCon going up instead. Because right about now, on the day and the time that you're seeing this,
we are on the road.
We are on the road to Indie PopCon. So we'll give you some more from there. But in the meantime, thanks a lot for listening and watching. And as always,
welcome to the second level. Bye.
bye.
It ain't no game,